down here, 942. Getting some displacement now prior to 950. Now, depending on where the 950 candle closes, if we use this as a gap, so if this is left open, we have an order block here as well. So preferably left open, order block, come up, tap into that zone, and then use that as a shorting opportunity. So watch right up in here. This one's to hold. Obviously short-term sell side down here. Looks like we're getting a quick run though. First fair value gap I see. Probably could go short. Take a look at ES. ES starting to dump off as well. I want this tiny gap up here left open as breakaway. Looking for another continued movement down. Now the reason you'd be fine with taking a short this close to the short-term sell side is because if you look at the daily, there's this 14,792 level also outstanding, so there's a lower draw. Typically, if you're this close, less than 20 points, you don't want to take movements that can be, you know, front run and stop in short. Swing short here and then reverse. You want to pop all the way through your 20 points preferably and maybe run to 40 points. So this is a setup that's fine if you want to take short. Even if we had a fair value gap below the sell side, that would also be fine, I think, in my opinion, to go short and still target 20. And make it a deeper retracement, so you have to put your stop above some fair value gaps in this discount end. So preferably we do get a run up now into this sibi. Put a sell limit right there. Got a tiny gap fill right in this tiny one. So if this was your model, it could look for 20 points from there. Super tiny gap. Points to the sell side. Expecting this gap up here to be filled. Could put a sell limit right here on the screen. Tapping to this order block here, changing the state of delivery. So watch how we respect that order block right perfectly. There's the sweep of the sell side. Looking for a continued move now. Possibly down to 20-ish range. Down to 24. I'll put my limit order really quick. So there's your sell side smack through. Let me remove this limit. So I think this will also be left up in this breakaway. I want to see quick expansion now down through the low. Screenshot this really quick. Send it over to predictions chat. So that's your unicorn setup, short technically. So you have bisi liquidity from the pre-market, ran through up here. Technically also your model 2022, except we had no fair value gap besides the inversion fair value gap. It's a little bit of a advanced 2022 model. But breaker setup here. If I switch down to a 30 second, it's a little bit easier to see, but we'll keep on the 1 minute. We have a high low, higher high. So that's your three objectives for the pattern. And then you draw the order block from that time, from that order, or from the breaker out in time, and that's this swing low here. Technically it's this entire consecutive thing right there, but the low end, we closed below, tapped into the breaker again, and then we sold off. Now watch how this sibi here is used. Should also resist prices. ES also has not ran out there low, so that's also a good reason for expansion. Oh, it ran it out by a couple ticks, but still looking for further displacement on NQ. So we'll see a close bearishly below this gap and then another expansion. Now you could also use this, technically it is within macro time, all the way down here. This is a little bit later, 956, especially since we already got an entry point. Sometimes secondary entry points in macros can be a little bit more rough. You won't get the full 20 from secondary. So if you use this order block as an entry point, that would be 20 points I think already. I know this tiny fair value up here is already 20. This one, we'll use the high of this candle. Almost. So looking for a still pop through below that low. Take profit at that swing low and then at the 20. Let me change some settings really quick. There we go. So filling the gap, closing bearishly. Looking good so far. Make sure DXY is still headed up, which looks like it is. Fill this gap right here. So good confluence there with DXY. We have a swing high up here that needs to be targeted as well. And more swing highs all the way up there. Also this 15-minute gap is also present. So as long as DXY is continuing to head up, then indices should drop off. Closed above the gap, tapped into the order block wick, as well as filling the 2-minute gap and the 3-minute gap. Immediate rebalance at 4. So if you mark this out, there's your 3-minute gap fill. Now you could look also 20 points from here. This I think is the minimum that should be hit. I'll move this one. So look for 26.25 roughly. Quick acceleration off of the 3-minute gap. Still looking for downside movement. Just make sure DXY is popping up. Yeah, climbing nicely on DXY there. So look for 105.610 as the DXY target. What's the price level here? 926. So there's my first partial off the swing low here. Now once we close below, should see a quick candle lower into the sell side, or not into the sell side, into the 20 points. Need the candle body to close below the 954 candle. Do we close below it? We close right at it. Tapping back into the 1 minute gap. Let me just draw this out here. Also tapped technically into this order block here. This is a propulsion block. So propulsion blocks are order blocks that are traded up or towards another order block. So in this case we have bearish order flow. We have an order block right here after it was confirmed by this candle closure here. So we left a change in the state of delivery with an up close candle, close back down here, then we had another change in the state of delivery as we tapped into this order block and approached the tail end of this. Got the 20 points, by the way. Beautiful price delivery. I'll screenshot this and then I'll continue my spiel about propulsion blocks. So there's that. Let me send a screenshot of the futures trades I took on the other screen. So there's the screenshot. Let me send it over really quick. 950 macro short. Propulsion block. So change the state of delivery here. Closed below with the 953 candle that confirms this as an order block. Then we traded around, climbed up once more into the 3 minute gap, which I did not mark out. Let me do that. This 3 minute gap right in here. I'll mark it out as red so you can see. That's the 3 minute gap. So climbed up into the red 3 minute gap and approaching the order block, and then we closed below it with this one. Now whenever you see this propulsion block, typically, not all the time, but typically you see quick expansion after we close below and then retest it. So here's your retest with this candle. You can see we closed below. This candle was once green all the way up into roughly mean threshold of this order block, which is 50%, right around there. And then we instantly rejected lower after tapping into this sibi again, then a quick expansion lower into the 20. So you can use that on any time frame. Typically it's a little bit cleaner than this. I guess this is not really a propulsion block because it didn't really approach this order block at all. You can see the wick down here. We didn't get close enough to it. So I'm flat now. So got my 20 points out, fully closed. I entered late. I saw this tiny gap after we started closing bearishly, so I entered here on this candle. You can look at the screenshot, and then I also entered another one on the expansion of this, assuming we were going to quickly expand through the sell side. So it's not the cleanest entry, but still got the job done because we had higher time frame bias on our side. So with lower time frames, especially, now anything less than, I would say, the 3 minute, you need to have some sort of higher time frame bias in your favor. Now this macros, I guess, are kind of the exception just because you can use intraday volatility and intraday swing points as your targets, so you don't really need a bias, especially if you know exactly what you're looking for. But to increase the probability that the macros play out and you can hold them for more than your minimum target and potentially for 40, 60 points, or even if you're just looking for silver bullet, you need to use higher time frame. Now I use 15-minute chart on this screen right here. This is a good helping tool for me just to kind of find short-term draw on liquidity and any gaps we're filling. And then on my screen to my left, I have the hourly chart pulled up as well as the daily chart pulled up. So I have the hourly of both ES and NQ paired up next to each other, so I can see if there's any SMT divergence there. If there's any gaps that one is filling, another one's failing to fill, that gives me a good indication of where price wants to go. So I'll take a screenshot. I'll put it in Trading Hall so you can see what I mean. So I'm like occasionally looking over at the screen here, and this has the NQ sell side, not the sell side, the sibi outlined there. And you can see we wicked up into it and closed bearishly, much more bearishly on NQ than we did on ES. That being said, they are both very bearish, and I'm sure ES also displaced a good 5 points from an entry point. I don't see any clear entry. So no clear entry on ES, besides if you're using order blocks. So this here at 954, if you wanted to tap this, perfect respect to that order block. 5 points from there. Got that. Another order block in here after we close below. So you could use this wick here as your order block. 5 points from there. I think we just missed it. So not as clean as a delivery on ES. You can see the price action is kind of choppy here. A lot of wicks. That's why I've started to favor NQ more. I feel like there's more opportunities to get in. Even if price is starting to move with value, I feel like there's a lot more opportunities to go here. It is quicker, which is also in my favor since I'm looking for, you know, quick 20 points. If you're looking for 30 points, 15 points, whatever it is, it's much easier to get that on NQ than it is to get. Not saying it's difficult to get it on ES. It's definitely just as easy, but the amount of time sometimes not as in your favor. You also have to monitor NQ to make sure it's not reversing before ES hits their 5 points. You may be at like 4 points or something like that, and then NQ starts to reverse, and ES will slowly catch up to it. Tapping to this sibi here on the 15-minute chart, you also do have a breaker in here, low, high, lower, low. So this was a high, low, higher, high that swept out liquidity. In this case, we have a low, high, lower, low that swept out the sell side liquidity from the daily time frame, which is this black line here. Let me annotate this actually. So if we were to climb and close above this swing high right here and retest it on the 15-minute chart, so if we were to climb all the way back above, tap back into the high end of this, then you would see a quick acceleration. I guess you could also use this hourly inversion for value gap, which is shaded in red. If we do close above it, could use that as confirmation. And once we retrace, tap, and then hopefully shoot back up. Starting to trade higher here. Let me remove some of these annotations. So watch this, how we respect this sibi. I'm assuming we want to close above it. Since we did close above this gap here, this order block, I'm assuming that this sibi now wants to be climbed and traded through. Let me send that to predictions as well. So I'm just waiting for 10:30 to 10:45 now. Don't really care about this price action that much. There's also a breaker in here. So watch how we hold this fair value gap. This fair value gap right here is of interest to me. So if you're looking for silver bullet long, now this would be a counter bias from the higher time frame, but you do also have an order block here. This is your 2022 model perfectly laid out for you. So market structure shift technically right in here, which is also an order block. I'll keep this as a market structure shift. So this is your order block right here. Here's your breaker. That tiny overlap in space, if we get a tap into that and it's just a wick, that'd be a great long opportunity looking for 20 or potentially up to the swing high here at 15,020.25. But yeah, higher time frame is not in your favor, so it'd definitely be reasonable to take partials quickly. Maybe full partial at this swing high if we want to climb all the way above that. So watch how we respect the sibi. It's possible we do dip lower right into here from this sibi and then climb back up. Let me send that as well. So model 2022, right? So sell side liquidity, I guess you could also use this as your sell side. So even if you didn't have your high time frame, sell side right here, swept it out. You have market structure shift above the swing high for value gap right in here, and that's your 2022 long. Then we are trading quite aggressively back up above the high. We'll see how we treat this order block now. Now, since we did sweep out this low, just looking at the lower time frame by itself, we'll go to 3 minute really quick. So you can see we had an equities open, came up, climbed above this short-term buy side, now swept lower into the sell side. Now, if we were to climb above, I would assume it would be all the way back, maybe towards London slash high. I don't think we'll just climb above here up to here and then reverse back towards sell side. I think if we were to climb above this, it would be a continuous move up to London. Also depending on where we close with this 3 minute candle. We're also trading within the 5 minute gap. But higher time frame, we should see a full 14,792 maybe hit by tomorrow. Outstanding target on NQ for the quarterly shift is this 14,618 level. So this is the target that we're looking for a high time frame for the month of September, going into maybe early October. Do have like 15 days-ish left. No, not 15 days. 10 days left in September. So it's possible we could quickly expand down here. You know, 10 candles all the way up to here. 29th. So there's definitely time. Especially if this wants to be left open as breakaway gap. We have a tiny breakaway gap up here on the daily. We'll see how this tiny gap, if this closes bearishly, see how this one is used. So currently respecting the 3 minute and the 5 minute. So there's your 3 minute gap. Close out the premium end. 5 minute we closed roughly around 50% of this gap here. We'll see now how we hold this. I'm not interested in taking a silver bullet long or short here. I can frame both sides. Low probability for me. DXY is headed lower into a sibi. Indices are not lined up, so it's definitely low probability right now. So even if this plays out, we'll wait for a 10:30. No rush to get in there. Me personally. There's the tap into the breaker. Right there, that wick. So this unicorn setup was your model. You'd be looking for 20 points, which is just back up to the sibi. Since I can frame both sides though, I'm not interested in taking that. So what do I mean by I can frame both sides? We have stop loss above last swing high. Oh, I apologize, I didn't see that. But yeah, it would have been above right here, 948 candle. Reason I can frame both sides is we have the unicorn setup here, technically, right? So that's a long opportunity, wicked off the breaker. We'll see now if we want to expand, close above this gap. But then if you look at the 3 minute, we have technically buy side liquidity swept. You could see this as a market structure shift, I guess. And then a fair value gap in here we're filling. And we could want the higher time frame sell side. So it's definitely difficult to argue going long here with the higher time frame pointing lower. And it's also kind of difficult taking a short with this kind of retracement since we do have a very, very strong model that we're fighting against. So until we close back below 939.5, I won't be interested in shorts. And if we close above here with displacement going into 1030, you could use that as the macro long. Got those 20 points? Oh, okay, bet. Good to hear. Climbing back above this gap, look for a closure above 965.5 if you're using the unicorn model long. So we want to see a close above this entire gap to remain bullish. There you go. I think that's 20. Should be. Yeah. There's your 20 points from the unicorn long. Can screenshot this as well. So this entry point right here, there's your 20. Let me go back. So do you find sub 1 minute time frame better for fair value gaps? 30-second, etc. Me personally, I don't use anything lower than the 1 minute. I used to only use the 3 minute above. I never looked at anything lower than the 1 minute. But then once he started releasing, he meaning ICT, once he started releasing the 2023 mentorship and a lot of like scalping type of setups, I started looking at the 1 minute. 30-second definitely has more information, so it has more for value gaps technically. It has more, order blocks, things like that. But it's definitely difficult to navigate if you're not looking for something higher time frame. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with, was it Cameron or Cody's model that he did on the Twitter space maybe last week sometime. Yeah. So he, with the 15-minute time frame, the hourly time frame, he uses the 30-second after the swing higher, swing lows pop through. So that's reasonable because you're using higher time frame, right? You're using order flow as your basically as your bias. Now that being said, he also does have a negative R, which isn't crazy, but for newer people, that's definitely going to scare them off and definitely give you more. It's going to be harder to trade, in my opinion. So anything lower than the 1 minute, I think, is not unreasonable, but especially if you're looking for silver bullet, anything like that, you only need the 1 minute. If it doesn't show up on the 1 minute, for me, there's no point in dropping all the way lower. No setup, no trade. Yeah. So I would say the lowest you should go is the 1 minute. Preferably, if anyone's new to ICT concepts, I would always just tell them, 3 minute and above, preferably 5 minute. 5 minute and 15, if you can use that, that's great. Then once you start getting into like actually tape reading, I think the 1 minute is perfect. If you're just looking for, the way I tape read is per candle basically. So I like to see, okay, what is this candle going to do? What is expected to do? And what actually went on. So that for me is basically how I tape read and how I power through each candle, or like this is where I want this candle to close, this is where I want it to accelerate through, things like that. So that for me is crucial for tape reading and understanding where price is going to deliver to. The 30-second would have to be an adjustment for me because there's definitely, there's twice as much information, so I'm not sure exactly where each candle is gonna go and when it's gonna go. I think that's one thing is like once you get your time frame, just stick to it. Your lower time frame that you use to tape read, stick to it. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with cycling back and forth. You see me do that all the time for some for bias, but the tape read chart that you use 90% of the time, maybe it could be the 5-minute, 3-minute, whatever it is, stick to that one and learn how to read the language of that chart. Then you'll see some great improvement, because you can almost predict each candle if you get to the point where you can do that. So we got a reaction off this breaker, out of the unicorn setup. We climbed and closed above this sibi right in here, as well as this sibi. We're using the gap right in here now as hopefully as support. You can look for the swing high now. Now, like I said before, if we do pop through this swing high, I'd be looking for do some short-term buy set up here. Look at the 5-minute, so short-term buy set there, up here as well. And once we climb and close through this, I'm assuming London swing high would also be left open, or not left open, attacked. I did not look at the opening range gap, which we do have a large opening range gap here. So potentially, if we want to fill 50% of it, it's around 15,060. So another reason we might head up now for 10:30 to 10:45. I'm assuming we'll get another entry point somewhere around there. So I'll use the gap as support, looking for attack of 15,020.25 now. I might get some resistance around this for value gap in here, the inversion one that I just deleted. So I may chop around, may sweep out this swing low, possibly tapping into this tiny gap here. Oops. Also an order block right here. So a lot of things we could. I don't want to see a climb or a dip below 961, but should see some support here. That's 3 PD arrays, right? So for value gap, order block. I know definitely a ton of people are going short here with retail concepts. You have your big 1500 level or 15,000 level right here. There's your resistance right up in here, going short, targeting there 2 points. I always find that funny now. Whenever we look at retail stuff, people are always targeting like 5 points on NQ. Like, man, and they're using some crazy leverage. I mean, that used to be me too, so I'm not gonna sit there and be like that wasn't me, but yeah, 2 points. It's like, and they have their. I used to see people on like Twitter and stuff. Their chart was like zoomed in like this, and they're watching like each candle, and they've got like 17 contracts on, and they're looking for $250. I was like, what the heck? I was like, there's no way that people actually trade like this, which that's just gambling in my opinion. Yeah, I used to only have like this much stuff on my chart, looking at like 3 candles. It's like, what the heck? Yeah, then you realize, oh, those guys, half of them are not even profitable. They're just doing that for YouTube, and they're using a sim account, maxing out their contracts and going for 5 points. Now it's like you can use 1 contract and look for 20. I think that's the way to go. The lower leverage, looking for larger moves. That's why even if you look at higher time frame stuff, I don't have the patience for that. I don't have patience to look at a 15-minute chart and hold it for the entire day. But I mean, you could even use a micro contract on the super high time frames and still manage to get thousands of dollars if you're targeting something that's couple 100 points away on NQ. So we're filling this gap here. We tapped into the order block as well. This order block right here. Can remove this for now. So see how this holds. We got 10 minutes till, or not 10 minutes, 5 minutes till macro time. Kind of a market maker sell model in here as well. So watch that swing low, but favoring buy side for now since order flow has been bullish. Hourly chart, we just wicked into the sibi once more on both ES and NQ. I'm liking the price action so far though. YM just slipped out their buy side, so we have SMT divergence at the highs. Let me screenshot this, make sure you're aware of that. So we could actually reverse before sweeping out the swing high on NQ. So this SMT divergence up here, you can see it. NQ and ES on this left side. Here's your swing high from 930. Here's your 1020 candle we're just looking at. Failed to sweep it. Obviously you can see here, failed to sweep. And then YM came, climbed right through, filled this 5-minute gap, popped out through there. This is your not unicorn. Silver bullet long, right in there. Climbed out towards the buy side, swept that out. So swept it here, did not sweep it here. So ES and NQ are weak comparatively to YM. Now DXY is also dropping off though, and we have, what the heck is this? 810. Anyways, we have this gap in here, assuming do have sell side liquidity. So if DXY continues to drop off, then look for higher prices. Do have this large 5-minute gap in here. I'm expecting this top one to be left open as breakaway since we, what the heck? Anyone else just see that? Or is it just me? Okay then. We'll just go back to over here. Nothing happened. There we go. Yeah, so we came up, filled this gap, tapped into the order block, left it. So the first fair value gap would be this one. This would be left open as breakaway, preferably. And then we do have this one in here that we could see a tap. Preferably, if you want to remain bearish, close below 50%. Right now, indices and DXY is dropping off. Indicates low probability. So I might get some chop around here. I'm looking for now, since we've filled most of these for value gaps, so filled the breaker and this for value gap on the 1, came up, filled this for value gap and this one, and now we climbed into this inversion. For the 1030, I'm looking for a fair value gap to form within that macro time. So sometimes you look for for value gaps to form outside the macro time prior to it, and then you use the macro time as your entry point. Now that all the fair value gaps have been filled on the 1, I'm looking for a singular one to form with displacement during macro time, so post 1030 preferably. Obviously if we just kind of tap into these fair value gaps, if we draw them out in time, I won't take that as an entry point. I already got the 950 win, so if this one doesn't provide, probably we'll close it out for the day. Make sure OBS is capturing all this. Okay, good. So stream recording will be posted as well once that is done. Let's see what indices are doing. So everything's dropping off right now. Low probability. DXY did sweep out their short-term sell side here. So it's possible that we do get a deeper retracement into this fair value gap, which if we do get a deeper retracement past 50%, then that should be enough time for shorts to play out on NQ. Otherwise, if we just wick into it and climb on indices, then look for buy side up here. For me, it's kind of just a 50-50 draw. I was going to make a pre-market analysis video on just the AM session. I'll probably upload that tomorrow or Saturday. So if there's any questions you have prior to me making the video, or if you want something included in there, shoot me a DM, and I'm gonna probably script it today, and then I'll record it either tonight or tomorrow, and then post that, because I know someone was DMing me about pre-market stuff, or it was asked on Tuesday. So I'll make just like a routine type of video, and then what I look for levels wise, higher time frame stuff, and then like opening range gap, things like that, and what to do with the 930. Maybe I'll put like a 930 opening range, or opening equities open trade, something like that. We'll see. Still got to frame it out. So within macro time, still no displacement. We'll see if this candle wants to hold. We'd like to see a close above the bisi entirely though for me to remain bullish. DXY is dropping off aggressively, so as long as that continues, we should see 15020 hit. As obviously if they're misaligned, won't be taking anything. So wicked right into the inversion discount end. Dip lower. Now we're trading within this gap here. So the problem with this macro that I can see, this current one, we have liquidity here and liquidity here, and the imbalances are within this range. So we may just get some chop all the way till maybe 1040-ish between these fair value gaps, and then a run towards this swing higher, this swing low. So I'm looking at the 1019 and 1014 candles, which may not give an entry point, which is fine. We're 50% of the 9:30 to 10 a.m. opening range. We are. So if you measure 9:30 opening, the high right here at 9:36, and then 10 o'clock is this low right here. 50%. So you can expect consolidation around 50% of any dealing range. This one is the opening range gap. I know ICT was supposed to drop something about the opening range, a video specifically, but he also did one. I think I sent it to notes. It was in the core content month 10. So it's in the notes chat. It's core content month 10. It was a couple of videos in. It's the SPOO's opening range trade or something like that. I don't know. I'll have to look at it. But I know that typically it's a concept that Master made, the Master, some ICT ripoff guy. But there's some concept called DR and IDR, which is like daily range or an inter-daily range. I'm not too familiar with it, but it just goes off the opening range concept of if one of them is swept out, you'll see a return either to 50% of that daily range and then use that as your model on the 5-minute, or more simply put, you have your opening range. Typically that makes the lower high of the morning session, maybe going into lunch, not PM session all the time, but morning session up to maybe 12 o'clock. You'll see the higher low of that session put in within the first 30 minutes. And once you see a sweep of that higher low, typically you don't see a return all the way back down into whatever side wasn't hit until maybe PM session, or maybe not at all. Think about the simple power of 3, right? From equities open till settlement close, or not settlement close, just market close at 4 PM. You have your opening right here, your 9:30 Judah swing, or 9:30 to 10 a.m. Judah swing. So sometimes you have a smart money reversal at 10 a.m., especially if there's news, which, I mean, you can see there's a SMR down here after we swept up the sell side. No news, but just reversal at 10 a.m. So 9:30 to 10 a.m., you have your accumulation phase of the power of 3. Then rest of the morning session, you have your distribution, or manipulation, I guess, AMD. So accumulation, manipulation, and then distribution going into lunch. So you can see that the swing high from the 10 a.m. was left unhit, and then we attacked the 9:30. And then if you flip that around on its head, looking for a buy model, right? Here's your 9:30 opening, accumulation, manipulation, hopefully above the swing high, then distribution going to lunch, sweeping out swing low, stuff like that. It's funny, this opening range is exactly 100 points. Are you measuring from this high to this low? Down to low to high. I'm getting 101.25. I mean, it's close enough. I'm right around 50%. So we did pop up. I'm looking for a climb above this inversion for value gap. We do have a tiny sibi that's forming. Let me remove some of this stuff. Tiny bisi, sorry, that's forming right in here. So if we do want to close above there, look for this gap potentially used as a long opportunity. Stop below. Maybe here if you're aggressive at 967. Otherwise, at the swing low down here, 57. Probably just be looking for 2 contracts from there. Starting to displace away. We'll probably get some speed above the swing high up into the buy side. So watch this up here. Still in crosshairs. This definitely will be hit by 11 o'clock for sure. But it's starting to get a run up now. Probably by 9:45 actually. What is this at? 20. So look for this to be hit before 9:45, sorry. Got an order block in here as well. Should be used to support price if we come down into it. Do also have some for value gaps above that, up in here. But look for 36 as well, 15.36. 0.5. Also for value gap in here that might be left open. Preferably this one's left open here. Down here has a breakaway gap. And then we do have a bisi in here that should hopefully support price. Enter another contract long there. Then look for the swing high as the first partial, and then I'm keeping partial up to 15036.75 as the last one. See where this candle wants to close. So closed right above the gap at the premium end. Now looking for quick run up towards 020.25. Let me screenshot this. I'll send it to predictions really quick. Looks like we're getting a quick run. Now, as soon as we close above the 1039 candle, we won't get a retracement back into this bisi anymore, and we'll see a acceleration above to the 15020.25. About to get it. Now, talking about the opening range. So this swing low down here, preferably even this swing low, won't be hit up until the PM session, especially if we start closing. If we go above 15036, we won't see a return back into here until PM session. I don't even think lunch will climb and dip lower unless we really want to start moving lower, which is a possibility if you think about it from the higher time frame. We sweep out the buy side here, maybe up to preferably up to London, so all the way up here at London, because if you look at the hourly time frame, let me put an alarm right here so we don't miss it. Actually, we'll watch this. Wait for this to be hit, then we'll go look at the hourly. Actually, I can send a screenshot from the other screen. Let me do that instead. So we do have this large gap from the 3 p.m. of yesterday with London right above that. So let me mark that out really quick. I'll put it in purple so you can see. So this is what I'm talking about. If you look at Trading Hall chat, I'll put it there. Actually, I'll put it in the prophecy chat. So if we wanted to run that purple line, which is London swing high, and climb just into the discount of that sibi and then return lower for the rest of September, that would be all that would need it from the higher time frame, for me at least. I don't know what the algorithm exactly wants, but with a breakaway gap and entering on a bisi above where it would be safe stop loss. So for me, if you were to enter long on here and you're targeting, I don't think this is 20 points, but if you were just targeting, yeah, it's roughly 17, which is fine. If you wanted the 20 exactly, it's a little bit above that, but assuming that this breakaway gap is left open, you would see to it that the stop loss is maybe at this premium end, which is quite aggressive, which might get a stop out here. Tap into this order block here as well. If you're quite aggressive there, if you look at the 2-minute, we're about to tap into the 2-minute gap and the 3-minute gap. So it's definitely an aggressive stop, so you might get stopped out prematurely, but if you wanted to keep it tight, that's where I would put it. Hopefully this candle, though, return back up above the bisi, since we did tap into the 3. Watching to see how this candle closes. You can look at the 2-minute and the 3-minute as well. So closed a little bit more bearishly than I prefer on the 1-minute. I like to see a quick acceleration back above this gap here. maybe a little bit uncomfortable as we close barely below the 1 minute gap completely. But we need to see a quick response. You win long. Yeah, I'm currently looking for 15020.25 as the target on the demo. Not sure if it'll play out though. Looks like we'll get a stop out here. So there's the tap to the breakaway. So I got stopped out on those contracts there. Let me send a screenshot of that really quick. Might actually get a reaction off the breakaway, but we didn't get the swing high there. We got super close, which is kind of annoying. Got within what? Half a point, almost 1 point away. So this is, here's the screenshot really quick. Let me do that. So here's this screenshot. Almost got filled out of that. It is what it is. Happens sometimes. I might look for 1050. I guess we'll look at 1050 one last time. Then look to close the stream after that. Not going to re-enter long here. Even if it runs back up to here, that's fine. But yeah, typically when you get closer to the liquidity, it acts like a magnet. So you want to see fair value gaps that are closer to that liquidity target be mostly respected. So this candle is fine. Preferably it just wicks into 25% of it. So IOFED, institutional order flow entry device, entry drill, one of the two. I don't know what it is. But this wick is fine. I wanted to see this candle pop through. But the fact that we closed back below and we're filling this gap, this candle right here kind of scared me since we were super close. And then tapping to the breakaway. This kind of retracement is evidence of a high resistance liquidity run. So it is possible we get up here, but me preferably I don't want to be in any longs, especially if we close below this breakaway gap completely. I'd rather be stopped out here than have my stop all the way accommodating the breakaway gap all the way at 967, which is almost another 20 points lower. As you can see, we're tipping down through the breakaway gap. This is good though for 1050. Looking for shorts potentially, since we did fail to sweep out the 930 high. That might mean that this is in the target now. Could also use this breakaway potentially as inversion for value gap right here. Sell side might be in the crosshairs now. Let's see what everything else is doing. DXY just filled new dog and new walk. Yep, came down, filled this gap. Let's see now if we want to climb back above this. That should mean lower prices on indices. Now if we leave this tiny gap in here, you can use that to go short. Targeting the sell side. So 1050 macro now. Short term, let me remove some of this stuff actually. Breaker. That's fine. But tiny fair value gap right in there, as well as this order block low. Preferably we do see some displacement and then a fair value up to form. That's also why I don't prefer saying if I'm long or short. I'll give trade ideas and hopefully where you can identify them for yourself. But I don't like being a signal service that much in terms of buy here, sell here. I want you to be able to do it yourself in case I leave or something happens to me. Don't want to be the crutch you're leaning on. So we tap into this version once more, looking for sell side now. We got this gap potentially being formed. Short-term sell side right here, as well as right here. 20 points from the inversion for value gap would be right around there, right around this swing low. So target overall would be the swing low all the way down here, especially if you want to rotate from high to low, since we failed to sweep this out. Not liking the price action too much. We'll see if we want to fill this tiny gap in there. See what DXY is doing. So as long as DXY keeps popping up into their gaps up here, we should see lower prices. YM's dropping off. Yes, looking weak as well. Failed to sweep it here. SMT divergence. Look for the swing low down here to be hit. Put an alarm on that as well. So I'll put in the stop in really quick. Alright, back to NQ. So we filled this tiny gap right in there with the inversion as well. This tiny gap right in here. Tapping into the order block up here as well. Climb into this order block now. Not really liking too much since we climbed above the inversion completely. Keep the stop where it is. I'm just looking for, needed to close back below the inversion, which may be difficult for it. Let's check on YM, filling their gap. So NQ definitely more bullish than the other two. Let's see what we're doing here. Filling the 3-minute gap on ES. See when this candle wants to close. I think that might be OT turning back into, yep, turned right back into discount of that current dealing range. Or premium actually, premium end up here. Turn to the premium of the current dealing range. Now look for where these candle wants to return to. Do have this bisi up here, which is kind of concerning. Might want to tap into that as well. Another tap into premium there. Need to close below this swing low here at, not swing low, but discount end at 977.25 to remain bearish. Otherwise, look for this to be used as support and we climb back above 15.020. I'm not liking price action because I can kind of argue both sides, but favoring short because we failed to sweep this and DXY's climbing up slowly. But it's too hard to tell. YM's dropping off aggressively. Look for the swing low as potential as well. Down here, let me put an alarm. See what NQ's doing. So NQ's starting to drop off again. Still no closure below. Third tap into premium there. Still not tapping into this bisi. And we still haven't gotten a close below here. So I'm waiting for one of the two. And we close bearishly once more. This candle might pop through the highs. Oh, we popped through the highs, but didn't get a close above. Still very, very bearish. Tap into the discount of that bisi almost exactly. Now dumping back off. See what YM is doing. YM's starting to hopefully continue. I want to see it climb through this implied for value gap as well and dip lower into the intermediate term low here. Yes, starting to drop off as well, looking good. I think we have an alarm. Yep, we have an alarm on this. NQ, I want it to close below the inversion now. Gonna move this for the time being. Should see speed below this low as well. Now, liquidity target for the macro, I assume to be this swing low here. Don't think this is enough. I think I want to smack all the way through. Do also have sell side down here. So hopefully get some speed now. Did close below it. See if we can tap into this tiny order block here. I think I got within one tick of my stop loss being hit on that trade. It's kind of crazy. Literally within one tick, I think, with this candle here. I had my stop loss at the discount end of this bisi. I didn't get filled on the stop loss. We came rejected, closed back below. I'll send a screenshot of this trade as well when this is done. I have my limit order at this swing low here, as well as the swing low and the sell side all the way down here. Now, preferably this is left open as a breakaway gap, especially if you can close bearishly below the swing, below this liquidity right here. So why should we use this sibi now? Didn't sweep out the swing low yet, so watch how this candle wants to close. Didn't get any alarms yet, so ES and YM have failed to sweep out their swing lows. So still waiting on that. Let's see how close they are actually. YM still decent ways away from that swing low. Check on ES. ES just wicked it, filling this gap here. Looking for a pop through. So I'll put one limit at this swing low as well. So filled and closed bearishly. Now technically this is also your gap fill for the 1050 macro. So you could also use that as your entry point, stop above the swing high there, or above this candle right here, just right at the high. So watch where this candle closes. If we close bearishly again, look for 14,946. Good 3 drives pattern technically as well. 1, 2, 3 reversal here. Filling the gap, close at the discount end. Look for continuation now if you want to close out outside the gap. Aggressive stop placement would be at this swing high here, especially if you want to take partials at this swing low. I don't think this high will be taken before we take out 957. It's actually going to move my stop too. Need this candle to close bearishly, preferably. Just waiting now. Your limit orders or stop loss will be hit. That'll be the last trade of the day. I'm still expecting the swing low all the way down here on NQ to be hit. Only reason I'm a little bit more hesitant now is because ES is quite bearish, looking at their swing low from their opening range gap. So it's kind of hard to tell if we want to get all the way down here. With higher time frame context, we might, but it's definitely hard to tell. I actually just moved my limit up to here. So looking for these 2 liquidity points to be swept. I'm not going to hold all the way for that one. So close back bearishly once more. We wicked into this. I'm looking for continuation with this next candle into 957.5. So next 2 candles, I'd like to see it pop through. Comes the next one. Back into the sibi low end. Tapped into it once more. It's definitely hesitant to get down there. So didn't get it with this candle, even though we closed bearishly. ES is still filling their gap here. Did not sweep this out yet. YM's climbing up a little bit, filling their 3-minute gap right there. 4-minute gap right in here. DXY is starting to drop off as well. We'll see if we get a stop out now on this one. Fill the entire gap all the way up to the premium end. Still have 5 minutes left in the macro. Yeah, so I originally had the stop up at the discount on this, basically trimmed it down half. Would have been happy with a partial here and then moving stop to break even. But it doesn't look like we'll get that unless it rejects instantly all the way down back below the gap with this candle. Don't know if we'll get it. DXY also needs to pop up, filling this gap here. Well, NQ tipped back below the sibi. It's comical how weird the price action is today. Filled all the way up to the premium and almost got stopped out again. Now looking for the partial. I'm actually going to move the limit orders. Here comes the stop out. There we go. At least we're out of the position. It's annoying price action. So that'll probably do it for me today. We got the 950 win with the short there. And then here's the 1050 macro, or the 1030 loss with the failure to sweep here. And then we had a 2022 model that also, for whatever reason, failed, which I guess is expected post FOMC. Rough Thursday morning. So I'll send a screenshot of that trade as well. Right in here. Here's the shorting. And then break even stop out. And the futures trades. What is this? 1 tick away again from the... Yeah, 1 point from the sell side. There's a screenshot. So I really do not know what price is doing today, as evidenced by the 2 losses there at the end. Kept it short though. It was only roughly about half of what was made for the 950 trade. So we'll call it there. I will be on stream tomorrow at the same time. We'll look for a morning stream. Hopefully better price action tomorrow morning. So until then, stay safe, follow your risk management rules, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.